Today's lecture is on the key debates in media studies. Media studies is an area which is interdisciplinary in nature because there are many approaches that finally make up what media studies is. Why do we even need to study media? That is the first question we sort of ask ourselves. We need to study media because media is representative of the world around us. Not only do we understand ourselves through what is being represented on screen, but we also understand what others are thinking when we watch different kinds of genres of media products, say TV shows or movies, when we read literary works, etc. Media is also a very, very important tool for socialization, not only of children, but also of adults. We tend to make sense of the world around us through understanding these media products. And that is why media forms such an important and key part of different kinds of disciplines, such as history, literary studies, English, philosophy, sociology, etc. So we have divided today's lecture into various kinds of theories. So the first kinds of theories that we are going to learn about today are media language theories. Why are media language theories important? Media language theories give us, again, a sense of what the world means to us and what we are supposed to understand of the world around us. We will start with Roland Barthes. Roland Barthes' semiotics is an extremely interesting aspect of media studies. Roland Barthes claims that there are different kinds of signs around us, and all those signs have certain meanings attached to them. And all of us understand the same meanings, which is how we can make sense of what I am thinking versus what the other one is thinking. So if there is one particular sign which we both understand as the same thing, only then is a common sense prevailing in society and we can interact with each other. Within semiology, which is a system of signs which is extremely significant, come the signifier and the signified. These are very important aspects in media studies. Why? The signifier is the object. The object can be, say, a smiley ball, which is yellow in color, which has a happy face on it. It is an object which signifies something deeper. It has a deeper meaning. It connotes joy or happiness. So when I see a smiley ball and you see a smiley ball, we think of the same thing. We think of joy or happiness, and that is semiotics. From this, we go over to the next media language theory, which is narratology. Narratology by Tzvetan Todorov, who was a Bulgarian philosopher, is something that media studies refers to as one of the key elements in discovering how media works. There are an infinite number of ways to tell a story, but there are only a finite number of stories. There are only a few stories which can be told in different ways. So media has a pattern. There is an equilibrium, then there is some kind of a disequilibrium, and then the equilibrium is restored. So take any example that you can think of. Say, for instance, any TV show, any book, any movie where everything is fine and everyone has a happy time, and then suddenly there is a disequilibrium, something chaotic happens, and then the protagonist saves the day and again equilibrium is restored and there is order restored. This not only is important to create that narrative in media, but also for the audience to understand that all will be well in future. So this is a more positive theory of media, which we find very less actually in most of the disciplines. From this, we go over to Steve Neal's theories of genre. Continuing from Todorov, we can see that all of us have commonsensical meanings of certain things. According to Steve Neal, there have to be certain common things in media. Say, for instance, if you have the colors red and black on a poster, on a film poster, you would immediately think that it has got to do with something horrific. It is probably a horror film. That is the genre. Whereas a romantic genre film would have more of reds and yellows and pinks, etc. So there are certain similarities which are there in different media products so that a genre is created, so that people know what to expect, because media is being produced for the society at large. And there also has to be some kind of difference, because you will not watch the same thing again and again. There has to be difference. So that is what a genre is: certain points of similarity and certain points of difference. From where all of these theorists that we have been talking about till now talk about certain kinds of structures. These structures that help us understand society around us. This structuralism was a concept that was propounded by Claude Lévi-Strauss, a sociologist. According to Lévi-Strauss, in media, you have binary opposites. So there is good versus evil, there is dark versus light, and male versus female, etc. So through these binary oppositions, media tries to create a plot. It tries to thicken that plot. But for the audience, it is very important that we have this binary opposition, so we understand how good triumphs over evil, or dark triumphs, or light triumphs over dark. Therefore, we go over to someone who is a rather post-structuralist. So from structuralism, we move to post-structuralism, Jean Baudrillard's theory of hyperreality. According to Baudrillard, in a postmodern society where modernity is over, we are now in a postmodern digitized world of media. In a postmodern society, everything is hyper-real. Reality does not exist anymore. So if you think of media products, it is usually a representation of the world. It tries to recreate what the world is around us, but it is not really a reality. Baudrillard claims that these constant simulations have created an environment in which reality itself is being simulated. So I, as an individual, cannot distinguish between what is true and what is fake. So you have all these concepts of post-truth, fake news, etc. And reality itself is therefore being simulated in front of our own eyes. We come to theories of representation by Stuart Hall. Why we make this switch is to understand that when we say that reality is being represented, Stuart Hall, who is a stalwart in media theories, and we keep coming back to Stuart Hall when we speak of media, Stuart Hall speaks of theories of representation. He says that media not only represents the society, but it also represents the society. So if you watch any kind of film, you will understand through certain symbols and signs how the protagonist is supposed to be. So if an actor is supposed to be depicted as an angry person, you will see there are certain signs and symbols that let you know that that person is angry. Or if that person is a happy person, or a not so bright person. So you have all these aspects which are presented to you in these media images, which are represented to you. According to Stuart Hall, media is so powerful that it has the potential to create stereotypes through these representations. So when you look at the way women are portrayed in different kinds of media products, you look at advertisements around you on what the women in the advertisements are really doing. So what kinds of advertisements have more of women and less of men? So you have a washing powder, there is a woman, but you have a car, there is usually a male. And this is changing, which is a good thing that we get to see in society. So now that we have done the theories of representation and we have covered most of the media language theories and narratology, etc., let's have a short quiz to see how much we have learned till now. So the question that is being asked here is that which theorist is credited with theorizing simulacra and simulacrum? There is Roland Barthes, there is Stuart Hall, there is Jean Baudrillard, and David Gauntlet. If you have guessed Jean Baudrillard, you are absolutely correct. Now that we went over the theories of representation, we are going to come to the theories of identity. According to David Gauntlet, audiences are not only passive recipients of what they are watching. Audiences try to construct their own identities through these media products that are being given to them. So when you read media like a text, you can usually assume what the audience is going to understand from that. let's talk about any actor or any protagonist that you like in your head. Think of that actor. Do you like that actor because you relate to that actor, because you would like to become like that? This is Gauntlet's theory. David Gauntlet was also very important because he brought in gender into media studies and understanding how media products worked. He spoke of historically how males and females were depicted in a certain way in different kinds of media products. So if you look at images of World War I, II, etc., the products that were being promoted, say the washing powders like we spoke about before, or of cooking oil, you would only see women being featured there, and how women should always be either toiling away in the kitchen or always take care of the children, etc. And the men went out and worked as breadwinners of the family. So historically, that was the case. But Gauntlet is very positive. He claims that newer images and newer media products have started showing better images, has shown more inclusivity when it comes to gender. It has become more diverse, more complex. There are more people, more kinds of audiences who can now identify themselves with the portrayals of gender identities that are being shown, different kinds of gender identities. So it is not just male or female, but it goes beyond that, and positive imagery of that. Thus, we will continue with our feminist interpretation of media studies and go to Lisbeth van Zoomen. Van Zoomen thinks that men's bodies and women's bodies are encoded in a particular way in media products, and these ways are completely different. Most women's bodies are used just as a spectacle to sell certain products. There was a certain image atop a poster selling tires, car tires, where there was a woman who was standing there showing the tire. She had nothing else to do. She was not driving the car per se, but she was showed there wearing clothes which were not really driving clothes, etc. And so it is important to understand how this kind of image that the media promotes, selling fairness creams, which are of course not necessary in a society which does not require any more racist images than it already has. The next feminist theorist that we go to is Bell Hooks. Bell Hooks, thankfully, is more optimistic. She claims that there are, of course, negative representations of women, but these negative representations do not just affect women, but also men. Men are equally affected through the representations of race, gender, ethnicity, as much as women are. And therefore, when that would be recognized finally, because men still have a patriarchal domination over society, according to Bell Hooks, it would gradually change, and a change would come. The next feminist theorist that we will be speaking about is Judith Butler. Butler's gender performativity theory is very popular. We usually study it in gender studies. And why is it important in media studies here? Butler distinguishes between sex and gender. Sex is something which is biological in nature, and gender is social or sociological in nature. So we perform gender. We are never born into it. How do we act as males and how do we act as females depends upon what we learn. And media has a huge role to play in this, because it is through media that we know that males behave in a certain way and women behave in a certain way. Butler gives the examples of children's books where mothers are depicted in a particular way and fathers are depicted in a completely different way. Also, boys have blue clothes and girls have pink clothes, etc. So after this, we will be speaking about the theories of ethnicity. The theories of ethnicity by Paul Gilroy is a more post-colonial approach to media studies. As more and more countries started gaining independence from their colonized past, they became very aware of how they were being represented in the media. According to Paul Gilroy, black people and white people, or let's say white people and non-white people, are represented in completely different ways in the media. It promotes, similarly, as Stuart Hall said, a certain kind of stereotype. And this stereotype is very dangerous because it affects the life chances of the non-white people. So they are in certain ways the same, yet they are different. If you watch any show, television show, or any of the movies that depict white and non-white people together, I would insist that you try and apply Gilroy's theory and find out what is different about the way in which they are being represented. We will then go on to the industry theories. Now, the industry theories are mostly a political economy take on the media, on how media works, and it is mostly a critique of how capitalism has entered the media system and how hegemonic ideologies have become the dominant ideologies of the society with the help of the media. So how and why are media products made? This is also important to know. Media is not just out there, it is there for profit making. Curran and Seaton, in their book Power Without Responsibility, talk about how power and media are greatly interconnected. There is only a small group of elite people who hold all the rights to media products and media images. So they are promoting a certain kind of society, they are promoting certain kinds of interests which are primarily driven by profit and power. And this leads to an inferior category of products and also leads to a repetitive product. Against this, today we see there are a lot of films that come out as not being backed by big media houses, self-reliant films, and that is a change that is coming in. Within industry theories, the next theory that we come to is by Peter Lunt and Sonia Livingstone. Lunt and Livingstone speak about regulation, media regulation. Now, there are certain regulations. There are certain things that you can say and certain things that you cannot. According to Lunt and Livingstone, these things that you can and cannot say depends completely upon who holds power in society at that point of time. And because there are digitally convergent technologies today, which is you have Twitter and WhatsApp, which are very difficult to regulate. So large media conglomerates usually take advantage of this and they refuse to regulate what kind of media products they are shelling out for the society. And this is why there is so much talk about post-truth, fake news, etc. because you don't know, you cannot regulate what is going out into the society or out into the public. The last industry theorist that we will be talking about is David Hesmondhalgh. David Hesmondhalgh claimed that every media industry is a specialized industry and every media industry is structured in a way that it wants to maximize profit and minimize risks. So all these complaints that we have on how the media houses are taking over, how we do not know what is true from fake anymore, and how dominant ideologies, powerful interest groups are taking over everything, it is important to understand that this will always happen. Hesmondhalgh has a darker sort of vision, and he claims that media producers usually use well-known stars, franchising, big genres in order to maximize audience reach and appeal. So you will never be bored of what is being shown in the media, and you will not even understand that there are certain interests that are being injected into you while you're watching something. And it will continue happening as long as power rests with a minority elite of the population. Now we come to our second quiz. Our second quiz asks the question, who propounded the gender performativity theory? It's a rather easy question. You have 4 options. The options are David Gauntlet, Judith Butler, Bell Hooks, and Peter Lunt. If you have answered Judith Butler, you are correct. It was Butler's idea to propound the gender performativity theory. This is our last section where we come to audience theories. What are audience theories? Audience theories talk about how audiences react to media products, and not just how they are being produced or what kind of language is in them and how they are representing the population, but how the audience takes this representation. The most simple audience theory out there is that of Albert Bandura. Bandura was an American psychologist who conducted experiment on child audiences. And he claimed that we are what we see. We are directly influenced by what is shown in the media. So for him, media is the most important tool for socialization. But this is rather simplistic, so we go on to other theories. The next theory that we go on to is George Gerbner's. George Gerbner gives a cultivation theory, and cultivation theory is very relevant. Cultivation theory is that through prolonged exposure, media products gradually cultivate and reinforce dominant hegemonic ideologies. We have done this dominant hegemonic ideologies also when we were doing industry theories. How is this different? Gerbner talks about what is the effect on the audience. What does the audience think of it? He thinks people who watch more news and read more newspapers and watch crime shows, etc., are people who overestimate crime rates and underestimate the security in their neighborhoods. So it is important that what people watch are what people become. We then come to Stuart Hall. Stuart Hall has a more agency-driven explanation of audience theory. He does not think we are what we see. He thinks that the audience, he calls it reception theory. Reception theory claims that the readings of media are preferred, negotiated, and oppositional readings. It is not passive. The audience is not passive. The audience is actively engaging with the media product. The media is showing certain images, certain news to the audience, but the audience is reflecting on it and negotiating and mediating it according to their own lives and their own experiences. The end of audience theories sort of came with Clay Shirky. So we are seeing that how the audience theories developed as something where the audience was completely passive. And now we come to Clay Shirky, where Shirky says that audiences are no longer passive at all. They constantly interact with media products, and especially with digitization today, there is no difference between an audience and a producer. So you see all these different applications that have developed where you can feature your talents, and they are very popular today. So here, who is the audience and who is the producer? There is no distinction between the two. Therefore, there is no reception theory involved in it, according to Clay Shirky. Lastly, we will try and understand media effects theory. Now, media, the two theorists or two genres of theorists that we would be discussing predate all of these earlier theorists that we have talked about till now, but they are still very important. So it is necessary to mention them before we have a sort of conclusion to the key debates in media theories. Marshall McLuhan is a stalwart in media studies. Marshall McLuhan says that the medium is the massage. That is, the kind of thing that you are watching influences you entirely. He talks about the hypodermic needle theory. What is the hypodermic needle theory? That the media injects certain notions, certain ideas into the audience, and the audience does not even realize that they have been influenced to such an extent by the media. This is a media effects theory. And consecutively, Marshall McLuhan also talks about a global village. As digitization started coming in, he said how media has collapsed the entire world into one small global village where you can interact with anyone you want today. You can watch any kind of television show. It is possible for you to watch regional language shows internationally. So say you want to watch a Malayalam film in America, you will be able to do that through certain OTT platforms. So now the world has become smaller and smaller thanks to the media, according to Marshall McLuhan. We will end with Adorno and Horkheimer, and why I stress on it is because Adorno and Horkheimer predate all of these theorists that we have talked about. Adorno and Horkheimer's media effects theory goes beyond a traditional Marxist emphasis on means of production, modes of production, and how hegemonic ideologies are promoted in media, etc. Adorno and Horkheimer claim that there is a mass culture or popular culture where mass deception can happen through media. So any political party that want to promote their interests and want more and more people to believe in them will use all the media products available to them to make it possible. So it will be gradually injected into you, and you will, they lament the loss of human spontaneity, of human creativity, because whatever we are doing, whatever we are thinking is being told to us by these media images, by these media products on how to behave, what to do, what to believe in, who to vote for. Now, we'll end with a quiz again. This is the third quiz for you. What is a popular critique of media products? A, they create stereotypes. B, they are profit maximizing and create repetitive products. C, they are gender insensitive. Or D, all of the above. If you have answered all of the above, you have been listening and you are right. Thank you.